realize you can play songs by ear? Unlimited power. You already have the ability to play songs by ear. Most of us get stuck because we overthink or doubt our natural ability to hear music. Playing songs without tabs isn't some rare talent. The truth is your ears already know the key, scale, and chords. To prove my point, see if you notice which note is out of key in this short solo. Pretty obvious, right? This is Shred, and today I'm going to reveal the easiest way to unlock your natural hearing ability. The secret is getting out of your own way and trusting what you hear. Now don't worry, I'm going to be breaking it down step by step, finding the key, identifying the right chords, using scales to solo, and even improvising with confidence. Get all of my tabs, courses, personal feedback, Discord, and even live classes below on Patreon. Good news, it just costs your soul. Developing your ears isn't as hard as you think. If you've heard it's all about complex music theory, you've been lied to. The trick is to stop thinking and start feeling. To demonstrate what I mean, we're going to play a musical ear training game. I'm going to share with you a powerful process you can use to hear any song. Now listen close. Here's the first example. Okay, step one is to hum the tonic pitch. We're going to use our voice because when we use our voice, we internalize tonal vibrations within our physiology, and that actually sharpens your ear a lot faster than using an instrument. I want to emphasize this isn't rocket science. It's just about following your instinct. Just like you could hear the wrong note that I played earlier, you can hear the right note too. So what you do is you hum the pitch that sounds like the center. Here it comes around. Ooh, I think that's the tonic pitch right there. Boom. And I'm feeling that vibrate down deep into my nether regions. Now, step two is we've got to find where that note is on the guitar. Nope. There it is, right there. So it's an A. Now once you get the tonic pitch, the next step is to determine whether or not the track is major or minor. And the best way you can do that is by playing a major and a minor chord starting on that tonic pitch. So I'm going to begin on A, and we're going to play a chord over top of the track. You ready? That sounds horrible, so that can't be it. Let's try the minor. Yeah, there it is. Now, since we know it's minor, at this stage, you could plug in your minor pentatonic scale and have some fun. Now, once you noodle around a little bit, if you want to go deeper, what you have to do is determine the actual chord progression. So the way to do that is to listen for the bass guitar. What's the bass guitar doing? Because the bass guitar always plays the roots. So if we can hum each of those notes, then we can build a chord on top. So let's see. Kind of hear that progression there? So if we build a chord on each one of those notes within the key of A minor, you're going to get A minor, G, and F. Now the way that I figured that out is I took the A minor scale and you play every other note. That's how you build a chord from a note within the scale. And I know that A minor is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So next, we heard that bass player do a G note, right? So every other note, G, B, D. So we know that has to be a G, and then F, A, C. That's how you determine the chord progression. I want to show you guys a secret exercise to develop super ears. When you hear someone with great ears improvising over a song they've never heard before, they're not hearing every single note in the melody or discerning each pitch in the chord progression right on the spot. What they're doing is using simple music theory to predict what's going to happen. Now let me explain what I mean by that. In the key of C, which is relative to the key of A minor, the same key as Stairway to Heaven, you have a sequence of pitches, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. That's the C major scale. And on each one of those scale degrees, we have a chord that can be built. So if I hear the bass player playing a C note in the key of C or A minor, I know that the chord's going to be a C major. I'm not really hearing each one of those individual notes stand out. I'm just using simple theory to predict what's going to happen, because it basically has to be that. So if I hear the bass player playing a D, I know that that's got to be a D minor chord, because D, F, and A is what's built on that scale degree. So let's go through each one of these. You have C major that starts on the first scale degree, C, E, and G. So I'm skipping those middle tones. So you play the first degree, the third degree, and the fifth degree. You skip the second and the fourth. Now, we're going to start on the second scale degree and follow the same formula. D, skip E, play F, skip G, and play A. That gives us D, F, and A. F and A, bro. And you get D minor. Now we're going to move up to the third scale degree. That's going to be E, G, and B, or E minor. Now the fourth scale degree is F. That's F, A, and C. F major, G, G, B, and D, or G major. Then we head up to the sixth scale degree, which is A, C, and E. That's A minor. And the very last one is B, D, and F. And that spells a B diminished chord before we're back to the beginning, C major. Now this is really powerful information, because now we can be more intentional about targeting chord tones. And by targeting chord tones, I mean playing the specific pitches contained within each harmony. So let's take a neoclassical lick or pattern that we can move through the chord progression. Now here you can see the basic idea behind that neoclassical lick. The trick is to play the chord tones, like I said. So here you can see I've got a C, that's the third of the A minor, an E, that's the fifth of the A minor. And then we have what's called a neighboring tone here, or a tone that's outside of the chord, but I'm immediately resolving that back to a chord tone. Now the G chord, you can see there's the third B, there's the fifth D, and the bass player is playing the root, so you can really, get the full sense of the triad here. And that's the drill when it comes to following the chord progression. Come up with a lick or idea that targets those specific pitches. Now, if you're interested in sweep picking, here's probably my easiest lick. It's the most fundamental way to practice the technique, and just involves the top two strings. Check it out. Now this is a great lick to work on your sweep picking. Here's the idea. We're playing through the chord progression again. We've got the root right here, the third and the fifth. So you got two downstrokes coming up, and then you hit the upstroke on the 12, pull-offs on the way down. If you just repeat that over and over again, you get the lick. Down, down, up, pull off, pull off. Now, before we move on to the next song, I want to cover something really important, and that is rhythm. I saw a couple comments in my last video about how to count through the subdivisions. So that's what we're going to do right now. Rhythm is extremely crucial because even if you play the right notes, if it's out of time, then it just falls flat. So I'm going to start here at 60 beats per minute on the metronome, which is quite slow. And the first subdivision, actually it's not a subdivision, the first note value, we'll call it, is quarter notes. And that's 1 note per beat. So you count quarter notes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time that metronome clicks, you're playing a note, right? Now after that, you get your first subdivision, which is eighth notes, and that's 2 notes per beat. So that's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... The next subdivision is 3 notes per beat, or eighth note triplets. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Next we have 16th notes, or 4 notes per beat. So that's going to be 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Now the last subdivision that you're likely to encounter is sextuplets, or 6 notes per beat. So that one's a little bit faster. 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. If you ever feel like your leads are stagnant, try forgetting about the notes and just thinking in terms of rhythm. Let's move on to our second example, and we're going to apply the same process as before. Step 1, listen for the tonic. Step 2, is it major or minor? And then step 3, what's the chord progression? Okay, we're listening for that tonic pitch, the home bass. Let's see. I'd say it's that one right there. Okay, so where is that note? Oh, there it is. Okay, good. So we got our tonic pitch. Now, step 2, is this song major or minor? So in order to figure that out, we're going to have to play a major and a minor chord on that tonic pitch. So let's check this out. There's a minor chord. Yeah, kinda. Let's try the major chord next on this tonic. Yeah, that fits better, right? So what we're actually dealing with here is the Phrygian dominant mode. I want to address this concept of modes because when you play a song, it might not just be vanilla major or minor, right? The standard major or minor. There's different shades of major and minor. So in this case, we have this F sharp Phrygian dominant scale, which is F sharp G, A sharp B, C sharp D, and E. Now that is a cool sound, right? So you can hear that, how those pitches fit. Here we go. Has that Spanish kind of flamenco vibe. But the trick here too is when you're on the second chord, there's 2 chords here. You have the F sharp, but then you have a G major. So that'd be our chord progression, F sharp to G major over F sharp. And when you get to that G chord, you're going to forget about the A sharp that you played earlier. So it's really, there's like 2 different scales going on here. First you have F sharp Phrygian dominant, and then on the G you can do G Lydian. It's a really, really cool sound. Now I want to show you a little lick you can use that outlines the chord progression here. The first one is going to be this F sharp dominant sound. And then the next one is going to be, this one's really cool, a G major 7 played like that. Such a cool sound. So here you can see the idea behind the lick. We've got this string skipping pattern outlining that F sharp 7. There's the root, there's the major third A sharp, there's the 7th E. And that climbs all the way up to the high E string, so you're covering a lot of space. There's a lot of space in between the intervals. But this is a really cool way to play arpeggios. It's not sweep picking, it's not finger tapping, it's not the normal way to do it, so it kind of stands out as different. And then here's that G major 7 arpeggio. This is one of my favorite ways to play arpeggios, to kind of just gradually climb diagonally up the fretboard. You cover a lot of sonic territory, but you're basically just repeating the same patterns over and over again. So it sounds a lot fancier, a lot harder than it really is. Now we're going to take our ear training skills to another level in the next example. First, we're going to solidify what we've already done. We're going to go through that 3-step process to really drive it home. Then we're going to talk about how to build a lead guitar patch and also how to record a solo. Now let's listen to the track first and get that tonic pitch dialed. That sounds like home bass to me. It's the note that sounds like you could end the song on. So that's a D note, right? Next, is it major or minor? Okay, let's try major. Oh man, that's not it. How about minor? Okay, now we're talking, right? Okay. Now let's try playing the minor scale. Something's a little off with that note, right? So here we have another mode. We've got to figure out which flavor, which shade of minor tonality is it. And you got 4 options with minor modes, right? You've got Aeolian, you've got Locrian, you've got Dorian, and Phrygian. So let's try the most, common or the closest mode to Aeolian would be Dorian. So let's try the Dorian mode and see if that fits. You ready? As soon as the track starts up again. There's that raised 6th degree. Yeah, that's got to be it. Okay, so we have a D Dorian mode sound here. Next, I want to show you an example solo that really targets the key aspects of the Dorian mode. Now, in this solo, I really made an effort to highlight key characteristics of the Dorian mode sound. I first start with a pedal or the root. That's our foundation for the tonality. You can see here I'm emphasizing the tendency tone in the Dorian mode. That's what separates it from regular minor, and that is that raised 6th degree or the B natural. Now let's talk about how you can build your own lead guitar sound. So here we are in my line 6 edit. I'm using the Helix software here, and I just have a dry signal coming through, right? So the first thing you want to do is get an amp going, right? You're not going to get very far without an amp. So I'm going to use this archetype lead right here, which is based on a Paul Reed Smith high gain amplifier. So right away, oh man, you know what? That sounds like ass, doesn't it? And the reason is because I forgot to add a cabinet. So let's put a cabinet in. I'm going to choose this 4x12 Cali Vintage 30, which is based on, I think, a dual rectifier. So let's cue that up and see if we get a better sound. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, so now we've got some meat and muscle going on, and I've got my drive dialed up quite a bit. Got the bass at a fair amount, and we're actually going to do some more tone shaping with distortion. So I'm going to add a distortion pedal, and I'm going to put on the Tube Screamer, the 808, and once I engage that, you can hear the difference there. So if I take that off and then on, it adds a little bit more gain. I actually don't have too much gain dialed in here. It's more about the tone shaping. Gives it like a bright burst in that higher end. Now from there, for lead, you really want a lot of reverb and delay, at least in my opinion, because that has a big sound. It makes you feel well supported. So let's add some delay. And I'm going to use this duct delay here with a good amount of feedback dialed in. Hear that? So when you play a note, that's not the end of the note. I might even add actually more feedback. Yeah, and feedback just means the amount of times, you know, that sound comes back at you, right? And then what we're going to do is put in some reverb. So for the reverb, I'm going to use a plate reverb here. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, that just adds a ton of atmosphere. Listen to the difference, right? For me, a lot of reverb is almost like having a synth patch dialed in. It just sustains below what you're playing. It gives you a lot of tonal feedback. Very last thing that I'm going to do here is just add a compressor. And the compressor is just going to give me a ton of sustain. So you can just play a note and just kind of have it just ring indefinitely. That's another part of feeling powerful in your lead guitar sound. And once you get your sound dialed in, it's time to open your DAW and record a solo. If you're not familiar with working in a DAW, it stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and it's just a way to record yourself basically. I use Logic Pro. Pro Tools is another common one, but there's free versions like Audacity and Reaper, and recommend that everybody starts recording themselves because it really gives you the best feedback on your sound. Sometimes you think you're just killing a lick, right? But then you record it and you're like, holy shit, that sucks. So here we are in Logic Pro, and I've imported the Pink Floyd backing track here, and it's really based on another brick in the wall. So I'm going to type that in here, another brick in the wall. We've got that here. We can play it. Cool. So the next step is going to be, I'm going to engage low latency mode here so that my timing doesn't sound any worse than it already is. And then I'm going to go down to the guitar tracks here. I think what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to record two different performances, and I'm going to pan each one hard left and right. So this first one, you can see in the stereo field here, I'm going to be moving that to the left. And then the goal is going to be to record another track. Hopefully I can play the two close enough together so that they sound kind of like one guitar. That's the goal here. But when you record two separate performances, it's not copy and pasting. You have to do two separate performances. Those subtle fluctuations and imperfections in our performance creates depth and richness that you won't believe. It's incredible. Okay, let's see if we can play along to that take close enough so that our ear buys it as one track. And what I'm going to do now is go down to guitar 3 here. And like I said, I'm going to have this one panned all the way to the opposite side in the stereo field. And this is going to create a really wide, rich, big sound. Now, I hope throughout the course of this video, you started to realize that you have an innate power to hear music. If you think about it logically, if all of us can tell when there's a wrong note, you can also tell when there's a right note. I'm really interested to know in the comments below, did this approach to soloing clear anything up for you? Get the full tabs for this lesson, Discord access, all of my courses, and even live classes on Patreon below. Shred till you're dead.